Hello everyone, my name is Lily and welcome to my channel. So today I want to talk about the signs that tell you it's time to reconsider your career. So not just your job, your current job, maybe even the whole career path. So I'm not saying that you should change your career today. You probably don't have that choice, right? You probably need to do a lot of planning, and also really to look deep into what you're passionate about, and what you're good at doing before you can make that change. However, it's never too early to restart your thinking about where the future leads you. So, just a little bit about myself. I'm currently living in Dubai. Recently moved to Dubai just before all the lockdowns, everything happened. Prior to that, I lived in the UK for 10 years. I was initially a student, like international student, and then I worked in the UK for a few years as well. So, right now, I'm a management consultant. And the reason I want to make these videos and advice videos is because there was a time a couple years ago, well, a few years ago, actually multiple times, where I felt that I was really unhappy, I was stuck, and often don't know what the reason is. So I know something's wrong, but I actually don't know exactly like what they are. And in terms of career, in terms of money, in terms of just general happiness, I feel like there's a lot more I could have done to make myself happier, and there are like things I wish I know then that I know now, like via reflection, via talking to people and listening to advice other people gave me, right? So yeah, so this is the reason why. So going back to that like darker period, or well, it's not dark, it's just a slightly more difficult period. So I think every millennial, every Gen Z would experience something that is similar. Obviously not exactly the same, but everyone would feel like confused at some point in their early career stage. So I graduated from the University of Cambridge in 2015. At the time, I was like a high achiever. I was very, very motivated, but at the same time, very artistic. So, for example, I care about creative writing. I love doing creative writing. I care about singing, all those kind of things. But I wasn't paying a lot of attention to looking for corporate like business jobs, whereas a lot of my classmates, a lot of my friends from university, they are obviously naturally attracted to that kind of jobs, not because of any particular reason, but the fact that those jobs are challenging, intellectually stimulating. I do think so. I think if you are in a position to find a stimulating career, challenging career, definitely go for that. By the time of my graduation, I was actually like jobless, as in I don't have an offer to start a new role in a few months' time. I was actually facing the decision or the choice of it's not really a choice at the time. So I was facing this really hard reality where I need to leave the UK in 2 months' time when my student visa expires. If I still haven't found a job, right? So I need to really find a job in 2 months' time before my visa expires. So I looked around, in a panic. I didn't have enough time to plan my career. I actually didn't really know what career planning is about, right? For me, I thought, okay, like these are the things I want my new job to give me. For example, I want my new job to enable me to have the time to meet my friends, to connect with people, to learn like a new skill, to, for example, cook for myself. So basically, I want to have a life, and I want to be able to do creative writing, to do my artistic things. So I think that was many people's ideal of a good like starting job, right? Where you can build your career profile, you can build skills, but at the same time you also want to hang out with your friends and have a lot of fun things, like time for fun things, right? So I was looking for a job that is inspiring but also not that demanding. I found a job very luckily in London, a consumer trends company. So it's similar to marketing, but also, they focus on consumer trends, which is really, really interesting. Like to this day, I'm very thankful to my team, my boss particularly. He's always been like extremely patient with me and taught me a lot. So I found this role. I was really, really lucky. But then, like after about a year and a half, I realized something's not right. I realized that I wasn't happy. I wasn't doing the things I thought I would be doing. For example, I wasn't actually spending much time at all with my friends. I don't have the money to do a lot of like social events because the role is not that well paid. I don't have I thought I'm going to join a lot of classes and develop like a new hobby, or maybe reconnect with my past old hobbies, but I wasn't doing that either, even though I do have a lot of time in my hands. So this job is 9:30 to 5:30. I live extremely close to the office, so all those things are should be very enabling. So that's when I noticed something's wrong. Now reflecting on that, I think there are three main signs that you really need to pay attention to. So the first big sign is that you can't find the problem on paper. So you notice something is wrong, but you don't know what that thing is on paper. So what I mean by that is, using my example, I know that something's wrong. I wasn't happy. I was isolated. I was crying a lot. But I don't know what the issue was, because I was in the exact position I wanted to be, right? I wanted to be in a world that is very interesting and stimulating, but at the same time, not that demanding. I want to have a lot of free time. I want to be creative. I want to be someone who have the ability to connect with all my friends and be as creative as I can, and maybe develop write a book on the side, like that kind of thing, right? But they're not happening. Those things are not happening, even though I was in potentially the most well-positioned place to achieve all those things. So that is the first sign. The second sign is that you can't see an easy alternative to your current situation. So what I mean by that is you can't see, by changing your job, for example, to another job who maybe with a different company, but maybe on a similar role, would solve your problem. So the thing is, the fact is, if your career needs to be rethought, then it's probably not something that would change all that much if you simply go to a different company with the exact same setting, right? Because there's nothing a new role can provide you with that your current role couldn't, other than maybe a short-term excitement for going to a new company and meeting new people. Obviously the caveat here is that I'm talking about if the issue you're finding is not with the team or the company itself, then going to a different company, you might even have a worse experience because your team might not be as good, for example. So going to a different job wouldn't solve your issue. So you realize that. So this is the second sign. You realize that going to a different job of the same setting wouldn't solve your issue. So the third sign is that you realize that your happiness is external. What I mean by that is you rely on other people for your happiness, for being happy. So for example, maybe you are extremely positive and happy when you're with your friend and your family, but then when you leave that group, when you are by yourself, when you realize something is just not right, you're not that happy, you feel really isolated, even though you're not supposed to be isolated. So that is the third sign. You think being on your own wouldn't make you happy. You're not proud of yourself. You don't value yourself that as much as you should. So I think now we talked about the signs, and it's useless to just talk about the signs without like the problem without discussing what are the potential solutions. Everyone is in a different situation, so I'm not saying that you can change your position overnight, but you should always start thinking. Because in my example, it took me 1.5 2 years to basically like turn my situation around, and that was quick. So what I mean by that is I have a really good university degree. I have very supportive friends and family who understands and who trust me no matter what. And I was at the beginning of my career, therefore making a change is not that difficult, right? So, other than the fact that I need to find a new visa, so I'll talk about it at some other point, but that was the main struggle for me, right? Nothing else. But I think, it's natural that these things takes time. If it's easy for people to change career, for you to change your future planning, then there wouldn't be so many people being unhappy in their jobs, right? I think you have to realize that it's okay that changing a situation takes a little bit of time. It should. And at the end of it, you feel really proud of yourself because you made that change. You actually made it happen, even though it sounds so difficult at the time. So the first thing that you really need to do for yourself is to reflect on your hypothesis of your career planning, right? So what I mean by that is everyone has a different reason for going into their career, going into their job. Some reason can be very complex. Maybe they have to support their family. Maybe they didn't go to university or didn't take a degree that they enjoy because they think the other path will give them more support, right? And someone's reason can be really simple. For example, they might want to, they might just thought they would really enjoy this career path, right? Like, or this career path will give them most prospect for the future. So any kind of reason. But then, all those hypotheses of, certain job or certain career path will make you happy are based on two things. The first is your understanding of your strengths and weaknesses, of things that you think you enjoy and not enjoy. And the second thing is that you have this certain imagination about this job. So for example, we all watch TV, we've all seen like TV dramas on Life of a Lawyer, or doctors, all those glamorous jobs. So because of all those reasons, you might choose your career without really knowing what you're getting yourself into. And when you realize that, you might already have started working for a while. So in my example, in my case, my hypothesis at the time is that I thought I'll enjoy a job that gives me a lot of free time, enable me to be creative. Like somehow I thought having free time equates, I'll be able to be more creative and more successful and more happy, right? What I've ignored are the things that really made me who I am, right? So I'm actually a very competitive person from when I was little. I published books when I was a teenager, like fictions, and then I've done, like, I was, in singing competitions, like all those kind of things. And at uni, it was very difficult for me because I was studying a liberal arts subject in my second language, and at the time, because of that challenge, I actually forgot how much I enjoyed that experience. I thought I don't want that kind of like challenge anymore in my life. Like I've done education, and now is that time for me to do something that is simpler, easier. But that's just not who I am, right? I actually really enjoy a job that is intellectually stimulating, that allows me to make an impact, allows me to really solve like difficult problems. And even though my first job was great in a lot of ways, it doesn't give me these important like elements that I'm actually looking for in my life. So so the first step is to really reflect on what makes you who you are, right? Reflect on what were the things that made you the person you are today. Like, are you competitive, or are you are you more mellow, right? Are you the kind of guy or girl that prefer to have a slower pace because you excel in slower paces that gives you space? So really reflect on what kind of person you are. Like, think about your childhood. Like, think about things that makes you happy, right? Like, admit that if you are someone who would thrive in a more competitive environment, or if you're someone who only excels in environments that you feel you have the space to think, right? Maybe you do need to maybe you need some space to think, to distance yourself from other people so that you can work better. Maybe, you need to decide that, and you need to really reflect on who you are. And then also, I think I mentioned, you have this. The second thing is, you really need to reflect on your hypothesis about this job, your bias against certain other jobs. So what I mean is that, like I mentioned previously, you might have certain imagination about a certain career path, and now you realize actually those are just imaginations, right? Those are just fiction. So now what you need to do to build on that realization is you need to also understand your preconception and potentially bias against some other career paths are probably also fictional, right? So this is my second main advice in terms of how to change your situation. So you now realize, okay, your real interest and your real strength are these things. And now the second step is to break all those biases against maybe some other career path that you denied yourself of, right? So in my example, I studied politics, so I'm a liberal arts student, and I never liked maths, even though I do quite well in maths, but I never really liked it at school, potentially because all my classmates in China were better than me at maths. It was a very good school, but I never had much confidence in those subjects because of how great my classmates were. So I never even considered going into finance or business, what I mean is to be an entrepreneur. I never considered consulting, because all those career paths to me sound very not me. Going back to the point of understanding yourself based on your previous experience, what I'm talking right now is actually the opposite of that, which is understanding, breaking your biases that you built previously. So you know who you are now, but at the same time you need to really break your old biases, because they are potentially very likely no longer true. So my bias against, I guess, finance and business in general is from my childhood experience. And my childhood experience and impression, they are naive, they are not who I am now, right? And I really need to realize that, and it took me some time to build that understanding, but eventually I got there. I realized, actually, why not just try it out? Finance or banking, it sounds like a difficult thing to do. It sounds very difficult, and it was difficult. I had to relearn all the jargons in the industry. I have to relearn like all the different departments. I don't even know what is the difference between investment banking and retail banking, right? I don't even know what retail banking means. It doesn't make sense to me at the time. And when you no longer have those biases, it is time for you to take the big step of trying out the different careers. So what I mean by that is, now we establish who you are, we established, the fact that maybe some other career paths exist, the ones like career paths that will actually make you happy exist, but you never consider them. But how do you prove that point, right? How do you know these other career paths will actually make you happier, right? This is a, trial and error process. Like, this is a process where you really need to take the time to do the hard work of trying a career out, right? So what I mean is that, for example, before you take on an internship in banking, or when you take on a internship in, media or being a journalist, you don't really know whether you enjoy it. So you kind of like imagine, you kind of like guessed, hoped that you enjoy it. Or maybe if you just took that job for other reasons than interest, then maybe you expect yourself to not enjoy it. But you wouldn't actually know. You can't prove your hypothesis until you actually start working in that new environment, in that new area. And just take a step back. Even if you can't switch jobs, or maybe like have a taster of what this career path is. So maybe you don't have access to this career, you don't have access to the people in the career. What you can still do is learn about it, right? Like in the example of finance, I spent a lot of time looking at Investopedia. So that was my starting point of knowing a bit more about what finance is. And through that process, I actually realized I do enjoy the concepts. I like those complex like ideas. I like the fact that even though I thought I wasn't good at maths, I can understand a lot of like financial principles because they're not hard, right? Finance is not economics. Finance is basically a industry that is deep and complex, but it's not hard. If you spend time, you learn about it, So I started with learning about the industry. I then moved on to apply like crazy for internships just to see whether I would like it. And that really helped me to discover where my passion and interest is. So yeah, I hope this video, like even though it's a bit long, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you find it interesting and useful. Please do subscribe and come back to me. I will talk not only about career advice. I will also talk about my experience as an international student, as an expat in Dubai. The reason why the channel is called Journey with Nili is because there's so many things I want to tell the old me, and I think some of those things are. I'll only share topics that I found helpful and interesting to myself, to my previous self. So yes, I hope you come back and there will be a lot more coming to the channel. Thank you.